How's it going, everybody? Welcome to episode 31 of Meet the Entrepreneur. This is ARTEEN ZAHIRI, and I'm joined by my co-host, RUMEER KESHWANI. We're going to talk to a pair of Gen Z entrepreneurs today. Nick Scibilia and Zach Shenkman are alums of the University of Florida and co-founders of Orbit. Orbit is a financial social media platform, and they're focused on empowering Gen Z, shaping the future of investing, and fostering a culture of more informed and engaged investors. Let's get into it. This is going to be a good one. Nick and Zach, I think it would be perfect for our audience if you could tell us a little bit about yourself to start, how you guys met, and what kind of transpired that led you guys to create Orbit.
Awesome. I'll go first. So I'm Nick. I'm a University of Florida graduate, as Zach is. I had an interest in finance all through college, even though I was not a finance major. I was a sport management major. My goal in life was to work in the sports industry, but I always had a deep passion for stocks due to my dad, just talking about blue chip stocks all the time, like Facebook and all his general conservative investments in his Roth IRA. And I started to dabble with the stock market when I was around 18. And then it kind of grew more and more as I started reading some articles, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, and I was like, oh, wow, this is a really interesting space. I did not change my major because I was not interested in doing that. I was just interested in kind of doing it as a hobby, side thing to build my wealth while in college. So when I graduate, I can accumulate some money so I can get my life started pretty quickly. Then the whole meme stock thing happened in 2021, and I was a senior at the time, and that's when I started to really dive into deeper investing patterns like EMAs, SMAs, charting, options, and getting really detailed with my trading. And then I had, a presence in the online communities on Reddit, Twitter, Discord. And I noticed myself hopping from channel to channel to channel to channel, and then looking at my technical analysis and doing charts to reassure myself of what I was reading, of what other people were saying, if I actually agreed with them. And I noticed it was a bit messy. There was a bit of a disconnect and discourse going on with this entire situation of online finance. So then I started looking for a platform to help myself with my trades and due diligence, like something where I can get my technical analysis and all my information in one place. I didn't find one, so I decided to kind of draw up an idea. Maybe I could create one myself to solve my problem. And that's when I met Zach through mutual friends. I pitched him the idea because I'm not a coder and he's a coder, and he loved it. And me coming from the aspect of a experienced trader who's been doing trading for 5-6 years, and Zach coming at it from the angle of a novice investor, someone who's looking to learn more and understand what an SMA is, what moving averages are, all of that. So it was a pretty good synergy that we had because we were looking at it from two angles that we could attack. And so he immediately was on board with it, and we started, congregating ideas, and eventually we came to the conclusion that there's a fit in the market for this. So then I day traded for a month straight, made our first startup funding by bootstrapping like all the profits I made with trading, and that's how we got things started. And then we met, and that's how we met.
And I'll do a little introduction real quick. I'm Zach. I'm also a recent University of Florida graduate in computer science. As Nick so eloquently put it, I'm a coder and a little bit of a novice investor, but I've been a startup founder since I was 8, started programming when I was 10, and I have been focused on sort of community building around the projects I take on in computer science. So I've made a variety of desktop, mobile, web apps that have all most been sort of centered around this idea of the internet is the best place for community building, regardless of your niche, regardless of your interest. And this social finance endeavor has been the latest way that goal has been materialized in my work.
Awesome. Thank you guys both for the wonderful introduction and background. Super helpful. So it sounds like you guys launched or started working on Orbit kind of during the height of the meme stock frenzy. That's when you guys were starting to get into that.
Yes.
I'm sure a lot has changed in the environment since then. Of those, of course, some crazy events that unfolded. Um, Talk a little bit about that journey. I guess maybe to start, like what kind of gap in the market or opportunity do you see that needed to be filled by Orbit, and where do you see that right now today in 2024?
So the initial gap that I noticed was lots of spam due to the way things were organized on StockTwits and X is through cash tags. So, when you're doing your due diligence on those sites and let's just use GameStop as an example, since that was the rise of that, you type in, $GME, you can get posts that just have $GME and 17 million other stocks and be talking about something completely different. So it was very difficult to find good information when on one specific security when you're like looking to trade it or invest in it. And that was a big hole that I noticed. Typically, me spending most of my time on Twitter, I noticed it on Twitter, and then I obviously did my due diligence on StockTwits when we came up with this idea, as it is a competitor, and I found the same issue there, because that's how they organize their posts is through their cash tags, which was innovative when it came out. But I thought a better approach would be kind of to find synergies between Reddit and X interfaces to where we can organize it specifically per security without having all that ticker spam. And Zach can go further into detail on our specific feature that does that for us.
Yeah, so that feature for us is called Shuttles, and Shuttles is a place where communities of individual investors for individual securities can come together and just all the information that they need on a stock, all of the news, all of the press releases and filings. We're going to expand this functionality to incorporate any sort of information that you can get on a stock. And really why that matters so deeply to us is, Reddit brought this concept into the world of sort of sub-communities where a niche, an interest was shared among this very narrow group of people, and they were very, very cohesive in terms of communities that could talk to each other and were knowledgeable about this one thing. Not everybody in the stock market is knowledgeable about every industry. Not everybody cares about, for example, me. I'm a lot more technical, and my portfolio consists of, mainly tech stocks, and I also own some Disney, some entertainment stocks. I'm not so familiar with like automotive industries or agricultural industries. So if I go onto Orbit, I really want to find out what is happening in my portfolio, and the fact that we can use shuttles to organize that information in a way that's really never been done before. It makes it so logging onto the app, you can get the information you need as quickly as possible. And that's extremely valuable for our customers who, need to react very quickly to a fast moving market, and information is rapidly changing. It's important you can get it as quickly as possible.
Yeah, that's really cool. I think as now that we're talking about the social features, Twitter is super noisy. So is Reddit. I've seen some people make Reddit comments that have irrelevant information, and then they have they're actually responding underneath it. And so people are yeah, there's a lot of noise, whether or not it's just pure noise or noise and then value. There are a few other apps that tried to remake Fin Twitter and stuff Public and StockTwits. Can you talk to me a little bit about how you guys think about yourselves in relation to them?
Yeah. So StockTwits, we did many user surveys when we were in college, through finance communities, the investment community, through our university, to kind of get a good grasp of what people thought about these platforms. I don't think Public at the time was actually released, but we did run that later on in the line when we ran into Public. But for the most part, StockTwits' big complaint was sort of the generation, I think, that was attached to StockTwits. We're more focused on the modern investor, the future of investing, and StockTwits is very outdated UI, lots of pop-up ads, and a lot of people had issues with that. So we really focused on having a very clean look that, like we said, had synergies with Twitter and Reddit, so familiar look of general social medias, but little bit of a modern take, so we can have like a nice brand and nice voice for people to actually connect with, so we can build a strong community around that. And for public, the main complaint was many people didn't want to open a new brokerage account, add their social security to access those social features. So, most people in the country stay with their one brokerage. They'll have an E-Trade, they'll stick with E-Trade. They'll have a Robinhood, they'll stick with Robinhood. So a lot of people didn't want to open a new brokerage just to solely use these social features on public. So for us, we really just went with the approach of building a community-based app with social features, technical analysis, charts, and everything you need all in one spot, easily accessible to anybody in the market.
Yeah, and this focus on, user interface and user experience is, I think a perfect demonstration of why me and Nick work so well together as a cohesive team, because as he mentioned, he's on one side of the spectrum where he's been trading for years. He understands what everything means when he just has a big chart in front of him, like, a trading view or a thinkorswim, which are, I would categorize thinkorswim as an education-based platform. The goal is to learn. The goal is to, practice getting better at the market and grow your skills. But for newcomers, I wouldn't exactly classify it as very excuse me. I wouldn't exactly classify it as very beginner friendly, because it really just throws you into the deep end. It throws you into, a big chart with all of these technical indicators, all of these lines and shapes and numbers, and you really have no clue what you're looking at if you're a novice like me. And I think that that's the folly with a lot of these financial-based applications that really focus on getting the most accurate and most amount of numbers as possible, but not really taking the time to slow down and explain what they mean. So that is where the UI and the UX element on my end of the spectrum really, really comes into play. We want to build a place that is very approachable for investors of all types of experience levels, regardless of, how you start out or what your knowledge foundation is. We want to make it a place where you can come on and learn and not feel intimidated by the complexity of the market.
And to expand on that, that was something we also noticed when we were going through all these threads on Reddit, X, and StockTwits, is that although these financial influencers, they're giving great information, great content, great advice, it sometimes is very hard as a newcomer to keep along with the terms and slang and all the jargon that comes along with trading and investing in the stock market. It goes really deep. So that's something that we want to make very easily accessible for everybody to learn what all these things mean, so they can keep up with everything that's going on. They won't miss out on trades, and they won't make a mistake without knowing it. And to basically make the markets fair and very, very accessible for anybody to learn and understand how to use.
Exactly. This is where going back to a little bit about what I was saying earlier, how, me and Nick work so cohesively together, because he's thinking about, these are the numbers that we need to have. These are the numbers that traders are going to care about. And, we need to have this quality financial data if this is going to be a useful app for traders. And I'm thinking that, okay, we can have these things, but we need to present them in a way that is, very user-friendly, very easy to consume and acknowledge for people who may not necessarily have that foundation yet of understanding why each of these numbers and these metrics are important. So, he's coming at it from a quality perspective, and I'm coming at it from a user experience perspective. And the end result is something that, is truly beautiful.
Agreed. One of the most difficult things with these consumer community style platforms is finding a consistent and scalable revenue model. How has monetization been for you guys? What's the strategy there?
So we haven't implemented any sort of monetization yet, as we're very, very early stage. We're more focused on growing our user numbers and focusing on our key KPI metrics. But in the long haul, we have a suite of subscriptions and premium access to level 2 data and more granular data and customization of the app that will be rolling out actually hopefully sometime soon. And that'll be all sorts of ways we'll be able to monetize, as well as working on the company side and getting companies to actually control and, have earnings calls and whatnot in shuttles.
Got it. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes complete sense. Another question I had about the platform was, Zach, you mentioned obviously that it's very important to get accurate information as quick as possible. But of course, the accuracy is crucial because you can get information quickly, but if it's not relevant content, relevant data, there's no point. Do you guys moderate the content on the platform? Because we talked about the noisiness of some other platforms and tools out there. How do you guys combat the noisiness? What's your take on the moderation and the verification of information, data, content shared on the platform?
Yeah, so we do moderate the tools, and it's a very, we moderate the general community of orbit as well as monitoring these individual shuttles for, is this post actually relevant to the topic that it's purporting to be about or the audience that it's reaching. We do moderate for those types of things, and the long-term goal is we want to strike a balance between, our own internal moderation team and outsourcing some of that moderation to the community, like other platforms like Reddit does. Obviously, that takes a very, very strong and integrated community in order to achieve. So it's more of a long-term vision for us. But going back to what you were saying about reliability of information, that is where you really start to see the benefits of using a platform like Orbit over something like Twitter or Reddit or Discord to talk about the market, where you can share a chart with a group of 50 people and it's already outdated by the time it hits the servers and somebody else sees it. You really need to be able to communicate information quickly, and we believe that there is no better way to do that than integrating the social content with real-time financial data that Orbit has, backing all of this content that's going on in the shuttles and in our community discussion. It's backed by real-time financial data. So you can go back and you can check instantly what the price of the stock is, what the historical chart looks like over the last 6 months or a year or 5 years. You can check the financials and the historical news. You can really start to get to a level of verification of these claims and research capabilities that you simply didn't have on other platforms.
So, I have I'm thinking as like a user, right? And I'm curious to see what you guys have to say to this, right? Is there is you guys are focusing a lot on the educational aspect, or at least sort of you're willing to do a bit of hand holding, explaining what certain things are so that a new trader can kind of get involved. And that's a powerful incentive, right? I think education is a big thing. As if I'm already someone who's perhaps I have a Robinhood account, I'm experimenting, I decided to kind of jump in and see how that feels. I use Yahoo Finance to just look at any data that I need. What is the incentive for me to kind of get on Orbit and start interacting with people, or I'm intimidated by Twitter, Reddit I just lurk. But what is the incentive for me as a novice trader, but someone who's kind of gotten started to start using Orbit?
Like someone kind of in the in-between?
Yeah. You've already started your trading journey, but you haven't really educated yourself formally, but you know how to look at data, that Yahoo Finances has a lot of data, you're looking at charts and other surface level information, and you're willing to trade, because you want to.
Yeah, no, yeah, definitely. I think the easy value add that we have for probably every single bucket of users would be that it's all in one. It's a one-stop shop. So instead of having 7 tabs open, you're going from Reddit X to Yahoo Finance to get all those pieces of information to make your decision. You're on Orbit. You look into a shuttle. You look at the charts. You look at the technical analysis. You look at the numbers. It's all in one spot, and then you go right back to your brokers to make your trade or investment. So it really breaks up that hopping from platform to platform, and keeps it very concise and makes your workflow more linear and straightforward.
Yeah, so it's sort of like a bundling of all of these separate tools I would already be using. I can log into Orbit and kind of see everything there, and then I can make my decisions maybe, like you said, more quickly, or with like all the pieces of information rather than kind of piecing it together myself.
Exactly. Yeah. It's basically shaves off the time of your due diligence. And as many traders and investors know, that does matter, especially if you're trading entry points, change in an instant. The stock market doesn't stop moving for people. So it really streamlines the entire process.
And like where do you guys see like more experience or like expert traders, like maybe these financial influencers, like do they have a place on Orbit, or like how do you guys see that level of investor kind of getting involved?
Yeah, actually, that's actually our approach with how we're starting to grow. We've already made several influencer partnerships across various platforms, YouTube, X, Discord. And we always viewed financial influencers as, the next big influencer. I think in 2021, the Roaring Kitty, entire group, it really
Hey,
showed
he's
how
back
strong.
now, man. He's
Yeah,
back.
exactly. 4 years later, he's back. Like, it shows how strong the community actually is. It never really went anywhere. It just wasn't being covered. They were there. They were just kind of, doing their own thing, and now it's back stronger than ever. And I think that is like a sentiment to how powerful financial influence actually have on people. And I believe it's more than just learning how to build wealth for yourself. I think a lot of people enjoy it, and it's generally fun. It feels like you're a part of something, and it feels like you're getting into an industry that you always thought was a very distant thing. They had to go 4 years of college for to get interested into. And I think now it's way more accessible to people given the new, age of investing in free trading, free commission trading and e-commerce platforms, very accessible for you to make your own investments instead of going through an advisor and stockbroker like our parents used to. All this information's on the internet. So that's the market that we're attacking, and we see a very huge piece of our platform being involved with financial influencers and having them have a lot of freedom on our platform with customizing how they build their communities.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very critical. I definitely can see the synergy and thesis with that. And I would love to talk about the platform. So, users, potential users, listeners that want to get involved. Um, I know the app is live on App Store and Google Play. Do you have plans to launch a web version as well?
Exactly.
Yeah, we have plans for that. It's more so we're putting a lot of focus into the mobile apps right now because we find that that's a lot of where users use sites like Twitter and Discord to interact with the markets now. That's where people use stock twits in public, and that is also where people do a lot of their trading now because of commission-free apps like Robinhood. It's made it very, very easy to interact with the markets from anywhere, from your cell phone. And, as Nick said, the market doesn't stop moving for anybody. If you're on the go, if you're, away from your computer, then it's really nice to have this, nifty little device in your pocket where you can be communicating and interacting with the market as often as you need to. So we think that mobile
Absolutely.
is a really, really nice home for Orbit, and we're putting our focus into there for now. But we will have a web platform, yes.
Absolutely. And what's the feedback been so far from your users? Are you seeing more users on iOS, Android, and then generally, what's the feedback you're getting on that mobile user base?
Well, we're definitely seeing significant iOS users over Android. The feedback, we got some really good feedback from our users. We actually have made some various updates, do some of our user suggestions. So it kind of makes them feel like they're a part of the team a little bit. We're listening to them. We talk to them. We like hearing what they have to say about it, and maybe additions that we haven't even thought about or expressed. But generally, the main compliment that I've seen, that I've gotten emails and DMs on the platform from, were the shuttles. Everyone does love the shuttles. They love how right now it's news and posts. They love how news is set up as posts and it's automatically thrown into each shuttle and categorized properly. We've seen a lot of interaction with that for the most part, because most people on social media aren't content creators. They're more listeners and people who view the content and maybe engage with a content creator. So we knew from the beginning that would be kind of like the chicken and the egg problem that we would have with most people that download are not going to be making posts. How can we fill that void? So Zach created a beautiful AI algorithm that categorizes news and makes them into posts and puts them in the proper shuttles. And we have a news flare on every shuttle, and you can go and you can comment on the news, you can quote post the news, and a lot of people have been interacting with that, and that's where we see most of our content as of right now. As of right now, we also are onboarding all the influencers that I mentioned before, so they will be on there posting content. So that'll be something that we'll be very excited to see that will be coming within the next few weeks.
That's awesome. I'm really excited to see that. I downloaded the app myself to take a look. It's really sleek. I like the design. I like the way that the news flows ticker on the top. I can go through the information. So I'm excited to see you guys continue to build that out, and get the influencers on there as well. I think the education piece is important. And, for those listening, this is a great way to kind of get introduced to trading. A lot of good information for both crypto and stocks. These are good opportunities to learn. It's good to have this information. So kudos to you guys. And I think one thing you said that's really cool is the fact that at this stage, you're letting the users co-create with you guys, really, because you're taking the user feedback, you're implementing it, and you're releasing it, and then kind of continuing to iterate. And it's a very it's a working platform. Like, this isn't like like some minimum viable product kind of thing. It's a real platform, but you're able to be nimble enough to incorporate the user feedback. So great job there. Definitely recommend everyone check this out. We'll make sure to put the links for iOS and Android in the description. I know we're coming up on time. Amir, you want to ask any final questions?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you guys have kind of been building this app for like, I think like what, like over 3 years now,
Yeah.
at least officially. Like, and you guys obviously put a lot of credence on your users and the feedback interacting with them. Outside of like, I'm sure that gets stressful and like, hanging on your users, like every word, trying to make things optimal for them. Like, what do you guys do outside of the business to kind of keep your head on straight? Or like, if you guys have any hobbies that you guys like feel like there's transferable skills, like, or just to take your mind off things, I'd love to hear a little bit about how you guys look at like balancing building a startup, bootstrapping, which is very admirable, obviously, and kind of like being a normal person or like trying to keep your head on straight.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think my favorite thing is just getting outside since I'm inside a lot, working on this stuff. I'm on calls all the time. So I think my favorite thing to do in the city is getting a city bike and going to the West Side Highway, just going for a nice bike ride when it's nice out. That's eases my mind listening to some music, very relaxing. That's definitely the main focus. My other hobby is investing, so that's right next to what I'm doing with this. So it's definitely nice to just get outside and lose track of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I can say, now I'd love to do different things. I love to get outside. I love to go see movies, watch movies on my TV and in the theaters. I love talking to friends about them. I like playing video games. Um, I have to say that while I was working on this, most of the time I was in school. I very recently graduated, like a few months ago, and I can say that my lifestyle then was probably not to be admired because I didn't have very much of what you would call a work-life balance. I was really the person who was in charge of building this app, and I knew that, if it was going to be this beautiful product that, would be admired across the world, nobody was going to make that happen if not me. So I was always focused on building the next thing and finishing this feature, making it the best possible product that it could be. And I was very, very obsessive over that during the time. So I can't say work-life balance was a strong point. But
Well,
now it's better that I'm graduated and I don't have to do it on top of a full 15 credit engineering schedule. It's
yeah.
definitely it's a little bit liberating.
No, I mean, that's like typically how it is for a lot of early stage founders, right? It is like this obsessive drive to like build the best product possible. So like, I mean, I'm glad to hear though that like you're sort of figuring out how to balance your ambition with like your life. So that's good to hear, but not surprising on the early end.
Yeah, we're learning. It's baby steps.
Yep. Building the plane while we fly it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Well, we like to wrap it up by kicking it over to you guys. And, if there's any last thoughts or asks for our audience, anything you want to leave the conversation with, would love to hear it.
Yeah,
I'll
sure.
say, sorry, just wanted to plug us real quick. We're Zach and Nick on Orbit. Go ahead and follow us. We love.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I am the most followed person on Orbit, so keep that going.
Thank you for tuning in to Meet the Entrepreneur. Be sure to follow Startup Society to stay on top of the most exciting startups in the country striving to keep the American dream alive. Until next time, take care.